Coming up on our newscast tonight. President Moon Jae-in meets with government officials, the FSC head, and bankers and highlight the need for deregulation in the financial sector to aid new businesses such as internet-only banks. For the hottest months of the year, July and August, Korea's electricity billing system will be changed. Households will get hefty discounts for the days when they are most heavily reliant on fans and air conditioning systems. The nation's athletes participating in the upcoming Asian Games took part in a special ceremony to launch their team. During the event, they announced their goal to show the world why they are the best in selected disciplines. News Center begins now. It's 8 p.m. here in Korea, live from our studio in Seoul. This is Arirang News Center. Welcome to our program. I'm Daniel Choi. Deregulation of the country's financial sector was the focal point during a meeting between the nation's president, government officials, and bankers. Trying some of the latest internet-only bank services himself, the South Korean leader pressed the need to allow related businesses to prosper through fair competition within the market. Shin Se-min has our top story.
For the second time, President Moon Jae-in took a first-hand look into ways to deregulate, this time in the country's financial industry. In keeping with his promise to cut red tape, the president called for steps to deregulate in the financial sector and eliminate barriers for new businesses such as internet-only banks.
제도는 새로운 산업의 가치를 키울 수도 있고 사장시켜 버릴 수도 있습니다. 저는 혁신 성장을 위한 규제 혁신은 속도와 타이밍이 생명이라고 늘 강조해 왔습니다.
Speaking to government officials, including the head of the country's financial watchdog, the president said the country could become a leader of the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution if innovation takes place in time. He also called for an expansion of investment in financial technology, or fintech. The country's two internet-only banks only got $1.5 billion of direct investment in their first year as of July.
인터넷 전문 은행에 한정하여 혁신 IT 기업이 자본과 기술 투자를 확대할 수 있어야 합니다. 물론 대주주의 사금고화 등의 부작용이 발생하지 않도록 대주주의 자격을 제한하고 대주주와의 거래를 금지하는 등의 보완 장치가 함께 강구되어야 할 것입니다.
He added that invigorating the country's internet-only banks will promote fair competition and innovation within the financial sector, suggesting the government get rid of unnecessary rules. The president insisted that this would help other sectors as well, and he also urged lawmakers in parliament to work on deregulation by supporting such growth through legislation. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Yesterday, BMW Korea finally issued an official apology for a series of car fires believed to have been caused by a faulty engine part. Seoul's PM urged the automaker and the Transport Ministry to come up with a solid follow-up action. Cha Sang-mi shares with us his remarks.
South Korea's Prime Minister has rebuked the Transport Ministry and the German car maker for their late response to a spate of car fires.
BMWs are catching fire one after another. Many are criticizing BMW's voluntary recall and a lukewarm and haphazard response from the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, which has simply warned people not to drive them.
Amid the public outrage, Prime Minister Lee Na-kyun, during his weekly meeting with government ministers on Tuesday, urged BMW Korea and the nation's Transport Ministry to come up with a trustworthy response. He underscored the German automaker's late apology on Monday for its faulty engine part, the exhaust gas recirculation, believed to be the cause of the fires, saying it's not enough to win back the people's trust, and the issue cannot be wrapped up this easily. He also blamed the Transport Ministry for its lackluster response.
I call on the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport to look again at taking follow-up measures that our citizens can understand. Even if there are legislation constraints, in terms of administration, you've got to do everything you can.
The government is looking at making the car maker pay punitive damages because current law makes it hard to protect consumers. Cha Sang-mi, Arirang News.
When the mercury peaks, Koreans fear skyrocketing electricity expenses just as much as heat-related illnesses, with the unprecedented weather making it near impossible not to be heavily reliant on air conditioning and fans. The government is taking steps to make necessary changes. Kim Ji-yeon introduces to us the billing rate adjustment measures announced today.
The Minister of Trade, Industry and Energy, Baek Eun-gyu, announced plans Tuesday to ease the burden on households from electricity bills during this summer's heat wave by changing the billing system for July and August. The progressive billing rates will be revised so that the first two stages are each 100 kilowatt hours higher, meaning the lowest tier applies until usage hits 300 kilowatt hours, and the second tier goes until 500. For example, a household of 4 using 350 kilowatt hours of electricity in a month would only have to pay $58, down 25.5% from the current rate.
We expect households that consume 200 to 400 kilowatt per hours of electricity on average and which are affected greatly by the progressive billing system to benefit the most from the relief measures.
On average, the ministry estimates that more than 15 million households will save 10,000 won, or around $9 less a month when their bills arrive as soon as this week. Though the discount applies to every household in principle, for those whose bills for July have already come, the ministry says that they'll get the savings next month. In terms of how much extra the heat wave is going to cost people, the vast majority of households, 89%, are expected to see their bills rise by less than $9. That's based on analysis by the ministry of more than 4 million households. Those who are going to owe more than $44 extra are only 1%. The ministry also unveiled mid- to long-term plans to improve the current progressive tariff system by conducting test cases later this year and implementing the changes by 2021. It also says it'll expand discounts for nearly 3 million low-income families and households with babies to help them stay safe in the summer weather. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
The United Nations Security Council decided to provide exemptions to existing UN sanctions to speed up aid delivery to North Korea. Surprisingly, the U.S. made the proposal. However, Washington firmly asserted various measures will remain in place until Pyongyang denuclearizes. Nonetheless, Seoul is excited at the prospect of finally sending $8 million worth of aid across the border. Oh Jung-hee has the full story.
With a new measure on sanctions from the UN Security Council, eyes are on whether South Korea could soon be able to provide humanitarian assistance to North Korea. According to the Associated Press, the UN Security Council adopted a new set of guidelines on Monday to speed up the delivery of humanitarian aid to North Korea by giving exemptions to existing UN sanctions. Supplies of humanitarian aid had been excluded from UN sanctions from the first place, but despite that, the shared view within the UN is that sanctions have had a significant impact in delaying aid delivery. The United States drafted the new guidelines, and none of the 15 Security Council members objected. From now on, countries and NGOs are required to submit a request of exemptions for their aid supplies, stipulating items to be delivered, parties involved, and most importantly, measures to ensure that the goods are truly being brought to those in need. Seoul welcomed the move. South Korea's Unification Ministry said these new measures will help alleviate difficulties in providing humanitarian assistance to North Korea and will boost assistance from the international community. Seoul decided last year to provide $8 million of humanitarian assistance to North Korea through UN agencies. The assistance mainly consists of medical care and nutritional support for children and pregnant women in the north through UNICEF and the World Food Program, but it couldn't be realized. Seoul's Unification Ministry says it's reviewing the new guidelines and will discuss the timing of the assistance with the agencies. That the U.S. took the lead in creating the new guidelines draws attention, but Washington stressed it's only to get rid of unnecessary obstacles in delivering aid to North Korea, and sanctions will remain in place until Pyongyang's final, fully verified denuclearization. 오정희, Arirang News.
For the second time in just a couple of weeks, there are reports of a vessel suspected of carrying coal from Pyongyang being docked in a South Korean port. Seoul's government responded. Neither cases violate any UNSC resolutions. Let's turn to our EG1 for details.
Suspicious vessels continue to dock in South Korean ports despite recent alerts and an investigation into reports that North Korean coal has been imported to the South illegally. VOA reported on Monday that according to the website Marine Traffic, a Belize flag ship, the Jinlong, docked in the southeastern port of Pohang on Saturday and is believed to still be there. Satellite images show the ship had docked last week at the Russian port of Nakhodka near Vladivostok, and next to it was a black material believed to be North Korean coal. And though satellite images do not clearly show whether the coal has been unloaded in South Korea, VOA says there is evidence that the ship did unload coal somewhere. But South Korea's foreign ministry says this does not mean anything illicit was done.
The Jinlong was carrying Russian coal when it arrived last weekend, and an inspection of the vessel shows no UN Security Council resolutions were violated.
The spokesperson said this is according to an initial review of documents related to the ship and its cargo. This was also the case for another Belize flag ship, the Shining Ridge, just a few days ago. That vessel came into South Korea's western port city of Pyeongtaek last week, but with the ministry saying it carried no illegal goods, it left for China on Saturday. However, there's still some skepticism about the ministry's statement. A VOA report Monday cited a North Korean export-related official as saying there's a Russian company that fudges documents to disguise the North Korean coal as its own. But when the ministry was asked if it's certain that this is not the case for the coal brought in by the Jinlong, the spokesperson said he would not make any prejudgments. Meanwhile, the South Korean government is reportedly almost done with its investigation into 9 cases related to North Korean coal allegedly brought in illegally. Some of that coal is in fact known to have been unloaded. If true, these acts would likely be severe violations of UN Resolution 2397. 이지원, Arirang News.
A South Korean man accused of illegally entering the north has been released by the regime. According to the Unification Ministry, yesterday Pyongyang notified Seoul of plans to repatriate him. It's not yet known how or why the man in his mid-30s crossed over in the first place. But the communist state claims he came in illegally and was apprehended roughly 2 weeks ago. Sources say he had first flown over to China. The man is currently being questioned by the South Korean government. To congratulate the newly elected National Assembly Speaker, President Moon Jae-in is inviting 5 key political and government leaders to the top office for a luncheon on Friday. About a month ago, Moon Hee-sang was selected to become the head of the legislative branch. Along with the 6th-term lawmaker, the so-called 5 next in command include Prime Minister Lee Na-kyun, the Chief Justice of the Constitutional Court Lee Jin-sung, the head of the National Election Commission Kwon Sun-il, and Kim Kyung-soo, the Supreme Court Chief Justice. Likely discussion topics include security issues surrounding the peninsula, as well as the direction of the administration's policies for the coming years. The independent probe team looking into illegal political interference by a recently dissolved military intel unit asked the nation's defense minister for an extension to its investigation period. The team is going through confidential documents that were drawn up by the Defense Security Command, allegedly related to plans to impose martial law in case protests turned violent following a court ruling on former President Park Geun-hye's impeachment. As the 40-day period ends on the 20th of this month, a military official said the defense chief is likely to accept the requested extension. The investigation can be extended by a month up to 3 times. The probe team also plans to add about 10 more investigators to the current 30-member squad due to the excessive workload. The result of the investigation should be ready by mid-September by the earliest. Kim Kyung-soo just got out of a grueling grilling session over his alleged links to an online opinion rigging scandal. The team of special prosecutors investigating the Drew King case isn't through with him yet. According to our Kim Mo-kyun, they plan to put the governor back in the hot seat.
The special counsel team of prosecutors looking into the online opinion rigging scandal announced on Tuesday that they will re-summon Gyeongsang-nam-do Governor Kim Kyung-soo for a second round of questioning for his alleged involvement in the case. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday afternoon, Park Sang-young, the spokesperson for the special counsel team, announced the decision, saying that they are in the process of setting the detailed schedule with Governor Kim's attorney. When asked about whether they're considering requesting an arrest warrant against Kim, the spokesman said that now is not the time to consider such options, adding that much more investigating needs to be done first. Earlier in the day, the team of special prosecutors finished their 15-hour questioning of Governor Kim Kyung-soo. As he returned home early Tuesday morning, Governor Kim said that he didn't believe prosecutors had significant evidence against him. The special counsel investigating the case suspects Kim colluded with an influential blogger nicknamed Drew King, who rigged online political comments in favor of the now-ruling Democratic Party. They suspect Kim received regular briefings on the rigging activities after attending a presentation in 2016 where the blogger showcased his data manipulation software called King Crab, which can automatically increase the number of likes on online comments. The governor is said to have fully denied wrongdoing, including attending the software demonstration and being aware of illegal rigging activities, though he admitted to visiting the blogger's office several times. Kim also shut down accusations he'd offered a government position to one of Drew King's associates in return for the blogger's support during the recent local elections. Kim Mo-kyun, Arirang News.
Moving on to other stories now, the South Korean economy is forecast to expand by 2.8% before the year is up. According to the KDI, that rate likely applies to 2019 as well. So Bo-bin help us look beyond the numbers.
The Korea Development Institute has reported that the South Korean economy is expected to grow by 2.8% this year. The state-run think tank's report, based on a survey of 20 economists, also forecasts that the Korean economy will grow by a similar rate in 2019. The estimated economic growth for this year is 0.1% lower than what was projected in April. An official from the Korea Development Institute said that South Korea's economic growth figures will become more moderate due to the slow progress of the major economic indicators. The country's exports are forecast to increase by just 5 to 6% this year due to the slowdown in world trade volume and the spread of protectionism. And domestically, the economy is struggling to create new jobs. In the first half of the year, the number of jobs created increased by 142,200, the lowest number since the 2009 global economic crisis. Inflation is also below the Bank of Korea's 2% target, with consumer prices increasing by 1% in the 10-month period leading up to July this year. So Bo-bin, Arirang News.
A public hearing was held as Korea prepares to start negotiations with Russia on a service and investment free trade deal. The Trade Ministry says the session at COEX Convention Center brought together interest groups, experts, and researchers. They discussed the economic feasibility and direction of the potential FTA. The move comes after Seoul and Moscow agreed to launch such negotiations during President Moon Jae-in's state visit to Russia back in June. We are inching ever closer to another celebration of sports. As the Asian Games begins on the 18th of this month, athletes are pushing themselves harder than ever. Today they gathered for an inaugural ceremony to renew their resolve. Won Jung-hwan takes us there.
Nearly 600 South Korean athletes and staff members to take part in the Asian Games this year gathered in Seoul on Tuesday for their team launch ceremony. Government officials, including Prime Minister Lee Na-kyun and previous Asian Games medalists, also attend the ceremony to encourage and support the national athletes.
The Asian Games is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for athletes. As such, it is important to post good results at the Games, but I think the global audience will be more impressed with our athletes' hard work, dedication, and relentless spirit.
960 athletes will represent South Korea in 39 events at the Asian Games in Indonesia from August 18th until September 2nd. The South Korean team is aiming at taking home at least 65 gold medals this year.
It is very hot these days, so we would like to provide the audience with some exciting performances so that they can get over the sweltering heat.
Though we are pressed for time, we've been training in a positive atmosphere since the 3 North Korean athletes joined the team. This is the first time we have formed a joint Korean basketball team, so we will make sure to do our best to win a gold medal.
The Asian Games this year will be particularly special as the two Koreas are set to field joint teams in 3 events: women's basketball, dragon boat racing or the equivalent to canoeing, and rowing. The joint teams will march together behind the Korean unification flag at the opening ceremony in Jakarta. More than 450 gold medals are up for grabs in 40 different sports at the 2018 Asian Games, and the Team Korea is looking to finish second places for the 6th times in a row. 원정환, Arirang News.
14 fishing net sinkers found in a Korean cave could be the oldest of its kind in the world. Radiocarbon testing suggests the ones found in Medan Cave in Cheongsan, Gangwon-do Province are around 29,000 years old, placing them in the Upper Paleolithic era. According to the excavation team from Yonsei University Museum, the limestone tools are the earliest archaeological evidence of fishing by mankind. If confirmed, they would replace the 10,000-year-old fishing net sinkers found in Japan and South Korea in the record books. In Korea, it's long been believed activities that can send shivers down your spine come in handy during hot summer days. Some would say that's a myth busted, but actually, no. Fear can lower the temperature of your skin, apparently. Choi Si-young joins in a crowd learning to take advantage of this and other methods of beating the heat.
What you'll find is close-up room in Central Seoul will put a chill down your spine, quite literally. Visitors put their problem-solving skills to the test to escape from the cuisine Korean for ghosts which crawl out of the floor or jump out at you from behind. In a twist on the room escape genre, they appear if you take too long trying to understand the clues that help you get out.
It was so chilling. Every time the ghosts scared me so bad, I actually felt a chill in my spine and it cooled me down.
There's scientific truth to the idea that fear is, in fact, chilling.
When exposed to scary situations, our brains sense danger and divert blood from the skin to more important organs like the heart and other muscles, so the temperature of the skin temporarily goes down.
Another less conventional experience chilling in its own way is a tour of the Ice Museum. Visitors can check out ice sculptures and other props in rooms that are below freezing. In this extremely hot summer, it's attracted tourists from as far away as Europe.
We find about this place on internet because we know something about Korea and we saw this place. We were nearby, so we decided it could be fun coming here. One thing, maybe the bathroom, it was cute. The little reindeer were really cute.
At the Ice Museum, the mercury is below 0 degrees Celsius, and it is so cold here that it is highly advisable to slip into a padded jacket. People flock here to enjoy the long summer day out of the scorching heat.
With the heat raging on, locals and tourists alike are finding novel ways to stay cool. Choi Si-young, Arirang News.
It's time to turn to Michelle Bach at the Weather Center for the updates you need. Michelle, we're getting frequent showers these days, but temperatures are not cooling down.
Well, Daniel, today is Ipchun in Korea, which marks the start of autumn. However, autumn or cooler conditions will be the last thing crossing our minds these days, as the record-breaking heat wave is still gripping the entire nation. Now, scorching weather is expected to continue tomorrow with higher humidity levels due to the showers. Now, under the heat, more passing showers are expected in the nation except for in Gyeongsang-nam-do province tomorrow, and the amount of precipitation will vary between 5 and 50 millimeters with some thunder and lightning as well. Seoul will wake up tomorrow at 28 degrees Celsius, Daegu and Gyeongju at 25 and 24 degrees respectively. And Seoul's daytime highs will peak up to 35 degrees, while it'll be slightly hotter in Gwangju and Daegu, topping to 36 degrees. Until now, Seoul has been experiencing tropical nights for 17 days in a row. The heat wave has stretched to 21 days, but we are still far, far away from this weather being over, as the forecast shows that these conditions will continue for at least one more week. I'll leave you with the weather conditions around the world.
This is where we have to wrap things up. Thanks for watching. Here's wishing you a good day or good night, depending on your time zone.